thoughts, leader of the council.
Thank you all very much. Right, as I said before, Mark Calcott, Assistant Head of Finance, is going to present his report on the Revenue and Capital Budget Monitoring 2014-15, Month 6 Outturns Forecast Statement. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Monica.
I'd just like to
Good
remind
afternoon,
you
ladies and
of
gentlemen.
the performance of
This builds upon the report you saw at Forecast 1. The main difference in this is that we've also included some benchmark inflation that we said we would before
Right, as I said
revisions
before,
of
Mark
the budget to give you a better reflection of how it's
Assistant
been
Head of Finance, is going to
spent and
present
how
his
it's been
report on the
monitored.
Revenue and Capital Budget
It follows a fairly traditional format
2014-15.
in terms of describing the overall position for Calcot and then moving on to the various areas of available collectors. So I'd like to initially just go through the estimations that were agreed by Cabinet on the 3rd of December as to the overall position of Council, and then move into Appendix 5, which is the further related to the collector payments that we've got.
Head of Finance is going to present his report on the Revenue
The
and
situation presented essentially what he termed rising coming the end of the year, suggesting our outturn without holding inflation will be 165,000 per year. That's an improvement on FY1, and is actually exhibiting similar trend as last year in terms of identifying quite a good early in the year and resolving it through the year and moving financial monitoring underscore Council to know how the year performance actually has been. It does tend to match a couple of areas insofar as that the budgets for the service areas include a future reserve decision at Pension Way. So one of the things I would draw your attention to is the current use of the reserves has actually this year overspend of 282,000. That's because of the equivalent underspend in the directorate area, which is why one of the recommendations for Cabinet was to actually more transparently take that out of the budget for 14-15 and reintroduce it back in 15-16. And that's a revised flavour for monetary position where we identify changes that have been made, which have been released following the report that we already showed introduced in March. So so the three reserve funding areas that we're likely to move into next year are reserve maintenance, take that out, movement education standard and numbers without account expenditure. An explanation for the raising education standard is linked to the consideration of revised funding at EAF and reconsideration of how we best utilise that money. And the LDP expenditure is just reprofiling that expenditure in light of the reserve funding areas that we're likely to move into next year are take that out, movement. The report then goes on to explain what the notable overspends and underspends are in various areas. Hopefully I've shown those which are beneficial to us in green and those which are adverse in red, and we'll go on to discuss that in more detail when we get to Appendix 5. The LDP expenditure, which is paragraph 3.2 covers the arrangements for monitoring our original surveillance monitoring and storage and these are very much the whole areas of utilizing the balance sheet. That gives me a bit of a blended picture of what the monitor is doing and that tends to align with improving the benchmark for inflation and collector payments. It would be fair to say that the use of reserves were only really a one-shot deal introduced and not to start using again. The concern that I have around this is that in conjunction with inflation it replenishes those reserves fairly rapidly. That's quite unusual given the financial settlements that we face as a local authority, especially alongside the additional challenge that we experience. And obviously what I don't want to do over the forthcoming months is to actually just understand better how much movement is budgeted beyond the creation of the integration year to give us a better picture of the context. There's the additional dimension to it that in taking grant money out of the EAF within the year by way of supplement, it has an £800,000 effect on EAF exempt. And obviously not only that, as the indications that you see as we go in terms of the under, etc. Some of those project or writing already has been started, or maybe the most usual way that these things can be progressed, or an additional project associated to a meeting or a meeting conclusion is to increase the number of public hearings for now listed at a meeting level of the board. So we need to be mindful of that going forward.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the points that we discussed in detail.
The situation about deficit reserves is one it's still a deficit reserve at the start of 2014. A further two are due to go into a deficit reserve and one is due to come out. Of particular note at the moment is that there are some pressures and challenges facing our secondary schools in terms of trying to get extend area as a result of the problems and challenges facing our local government. We are actively engaging with the school governors to get a recovery plan because obviously the persons that we say are responsible for the account and debt have moved in their opinions to raise them. We have received proposals from the sector of schools which again was refreshed fairly recently and we're working through them as much of that as we reasonably working in coordination that local government is trying to look to put our debt position very much a work in progress and look like that coming to fruition just to explain that matter is being looked at in a sector we then move on to considering the savings progress as part of the budget process for 14-15. Just short of £5.5 million worth of savings were required by the Directorate, and paragraph 3.3 onwards describe the savings that are manifest at month 6 and those that are perceived to be delayed and not achievable. We then move on to considering where they're not likely to be achievable. We are proposing alternate savings to compensate for that. But actually do that from, we've already done that phased in the fashion as the annual accounts are in. We'd like to make the budget adjustment to start with paragraph 3.3 onwards describe savings for month 6. 3.4 considers the capital position of the council. It's very much a similar position to Mary's really, insofar as I will always push service managers down to the beginning of the year to spend all their private cash like the planning for the forthcoming year. I haven't managed to actually track that yet with any local authority I've worked for, but it's not for want of trying, and the capital position of the council seems to explore the fact that it doesn't seem sensible to me that we're suggesting a large part of that spend be done in the planning period of the year when actually that should be prevailed by weather considerations. So I would always advocate that we do try to spend that money during the summer months, and we'll obviously keep it in our attention as to how far we get along that continuum. What tends to happen as a trend is that at quarter one, the total budget numbers sort of balance each other out through the year. There will be more of a challenge as to whether that's possible to do so, or there's actually a commitment to go ahead and spend that December time. 3.5 is the useful analysis. The council subscribed to the 21st Century Schools initiative, which involves £80 million worth of expenditure. But predicated on that is about £40 million worth of capital expenditure by the council. Of course, to put the 40 on it, it's fair to say that at the moment we don't have £40 million worth of expenditure in the bank to be able to do that tomorrow. We don't necessarily need them in the bank for tomorrow because the full expenditure requires the next 5 years. So it'd be quite useful to marry up when we get those receipts in against what we actually intend to spend to avoid any short-term narrowing considerations between our aims. And then if I could move you on to Appendix 5, which is the specific appendix related to children and young people's activity, which goes into more detail around the revenue outflow forecast. It demonstrates in which areas have particular challenge and pressure, and it's not to provide a feeling of flame in quarter one after flame in quarter two. So the additional case volume caused by adult children, the pressures around the safeguarding arrangement, and generally things like the legal costs associated with the conflict arrangement are all in excess of what our current budget position is. So if you recall what we have been previously articulated around the number of cases that the budget ought and the unit cost of delivery, which is case volume 4.6 later. There are actually some hidden stories in there in relation to the green items, so your key cases, younger person accommodation, children only care and room provision for service. There is major change in the unattended asylum seeker children. But the main pressure associated with social care children is the volume of reported children and the cost associated with that. There are actually a calculation there in relation to children and young people, which I need to further. The main potential challenge at shortfall delinquent charges or salary savings related to public service exhibit a £25,000 underspend, which is a £25,000 underspend in relation to quarter one position, so there's actually improvement on the position that we're presently running on. But similarly like the resources delegated to security coordinating positions as well. We then go into the savings progress specifically in relation to children and young people activity salary savings, which children and young social care for children savings totals £580,000, of which over half are anticipated to be made. Younger personal 15-16s up to £50,000 of net achievable. That remains no change in the policy approach at Monetary. Of children and young people's directorate, savings totaling 812,729 are reported to have been made, non-deferred, but 82,000 are not achievable. And the details of that will be in the appendix 2. Pool's reserve position we touched on when we spoke about the main report. The capital outflows forecast. There's not a great deal of capital budget for the social care aspect of children and young people. It's more around the provision of premises at the schools. That exhibits a similar trend to the general trend of spending through the winter and in the summer months. And what we have done in this particular collection is rewrite the budget for 24-26 in the fact that we will be spending as part of main projects before the end of this financial year. But given the fact that the discount is yet to increase our multi-spending budget, that is sitting there for budget that will come into the newer budget area in quarter one. We have given some indication there in quarter one. We then move on to the benchmarking exercise to give you a better understanding of unit costs and consideration against other factors involved. Unfortunately, I've had to anonymise some of the authority data that I've got from other councils because one of the considerations of using that benchmarking data was looking to identify particular councils, but I have chosen councils that have a similar profile to us in terms of being semi-rural or ones that you might have an opinion about by doing a nosy evaluation of it. Unfortunately, that has been difficult against our authority data. So in terms of looked after children, there are volume of presentations per population that will give the unit an opinion of its property cycle. Of authority C and D, so particularly Northern and Labour, will probably indicate a different profile than the semi-rural authority more generally. Interestingly, our caseload data for unfortunately those laws will be destroyed. Once again, different governments have had look at upgrading, maybe to allow the electricity to be lower. I don't know the reason for that. I think it probably starts to depend on when things kick in, what goes on, whether it actually our unit cost of delivery changes at all. I might also value looking at some of these electricity bills, pricing in more detail to see whether there are items that we might be able to usefully do differently, or indeed actually reinforce the fact that whatever we're doing is the right course of action. We'll look at that so the second table there indicates the cost negotiated in business division. So what we've indicated in the first table is that the activity is not significantly different than legislation. Our costs do seem to be a little higher on the unit cost side of it than some of the others, but I won't go into the detail in terms of how you provide this for the residents and why it's very different. I'll send an email to you with those more detail on there. So the second table there indicates the cost negotiated for each of the tables. For schools performance, I use my experience website, which is Welsh Government Performance Scheme. It's an all Wales based analysis. Works very much on familial relationships, so if they take schools of a similar level of demographics, whether that be size, population, history years, etc., and keeps a comparison with the student standards system. I've put the link in there if you're interested in looking at that in more detail. That would be useful to you. It's been quite a useful examination for me because I did come with a couple of key conceptions to the process. I naturally assume that the more money that you give individuals, i.e. the higher the unit cost per pupil, would have a direct relationship with the activity of the student I acknowledge I think it's a very simple achievement by using each table. It's been quite a useful examination for me because I wouldn't necessarily do that correlation between a little bit of price move with the low land. I naturally assume that the low land interest comes out more. So I think the key for me is that actually the difference factor between the two years is not quite so many have to be at level for each subject. So probably would be looking at the availability of unit sizes, looking more at the environment, the relation to the pupil, the outlook, how that scheme is working best. From my perspective, in life, this is be very quantitative. I suspect the outcome of that will end up being a very qualitative one. Equally, I couldn't find a direct correlation between small class sizes. I agonised over for quite a while until I went to see my chief colleague and he said, well actually your SPIPAC analysis bears out a lot of detailed studies that actually it doesn't seem to find that small class sizes result in higher attainment. I could leave that as a sort of question mark probably one or two that I won't be able to demonstrate. So what we have in there is we have a table there which indicates the cottage schools among the non-co-organised primary schools that I stepped up. It shows you where previously we had a negation in terms of the usage of resource. It shows you what the budget for the individual schools are per year. It indicates the number of pupils on that range. You can see the ratio and the average cost. I think you have a table there which indicates the you're also then compare that to what the actual cost per pupil is at the school. And I use the same convention to help you out less than sort of the idea that the operating staff or indeed in wages for the kids. I've also done the same for attendance pupils and where possible picking up primary ratings as right hand side trends per year. The primary I've been able to do that and certainly key stage 4 yet those results haven't been externally validated, so I've only got the first 2013 from onwards exams at the moment. But what you can see I think is that this is quite a wide degree of differences between individual schools. What I do take a comfort from is that I can see good examples across probably each sector. So I think the approach of sharing practices and good results is a sensible one. I think it's also probably a more sustainable one as well. And I hope this information can be used in a fashion whereby schools won't feel they're in competition with other schools, but can actually look at saying, well, what are you doing different from me? Which resulted in your completing different than mine. So I think the approach of sharing, what I would have liked is when we compared this to the family iteration is to have actually had an average unit cost across my almost sustainable one. Unfortunately that advantage isn't available to me, but I have provided some links to data from my more recent iteration which suggests to me that actually our unit cost per pupil is well out of the five. What I would have liked paradigms there is actually had one in which they're actually keeping unit cost provision. So it does suggest to me that actually the investing is lower, and I need some of the more than we ought to in terms of our investment in schools per pupil. That's a simple judgment because it's your based on the average unit rate size. What I would have liked paradigms is providing the investment consideration in the ultimate and then the commentary from both directors in terms of recognising the opposition and the challenges they're facing and what you're looking to do to address some of those issues. At that point, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mark. That was a very interesting and detailed report, which to my mind makes it quite simple for people like me to read. So thank you. We do acknowledge your concern regarding savings and research on English language, and I'm sure there'll be many ongoing discussions regarding the school deficit. Your conclusion of attainment is not necessarily financially driven. It's an interesting one and somewhat reassuring, likewise at last item. But anyway, if you'd like to ask any questions, do any like to ask any questions? Well, Richard acknowledged your concern regarding savings research on English language.
Mark, I think you implied that you would quite like to go further on some of these issues if we can get some kind of clarity. The relationship between unit costs and outcomes is an interesting one, isn't it? It's quite tried for nearly 6 years. And I wonder if you've got some comparisons with other parts of the world that if it looks like it is likely that the costs will remain higher.
When I started this exercise, it was because I recognised that no one else had done something very similar. Having done the exercise, I can probably better appreciate why they haven't done it, or if you like, it wasn't the easiest exercise to devise comparable figures. We have 22 authorities in there, and I haven't chosen to look at all 22 authorities, but there are different ways that different authorities approach different challenges. When I started this exercise, some of those are transferable between councils and some aren't. Having done the exercise, I can probably better, I suppose the devil is in the detail in knowing which ones are sensible to take up and would work in the easiest to work elsewhere. What I would say overall, in giving you some questions about the overall information, is that what I found in this is that our unit cost provision was generally below average transferable between councils, which I suppose is a bit of a double-edged sword. Occasionally we ensure that actually the monies in those lines are including provisions which are mainly in the central way. But equally, when you're looking to make savings, it probably isn't easy to take what a service without actually altering the significantly our unit cost. I probably am intent to go back and have a look at some of these areas in more detail. It's probably more my makeup in the fact that I'm a lazy individual when it came to work. There were a couple of loose strands that I left by definition without having a good explain. I thought, yeah, I'm going to pause on this next point and see what I'll get to and query it.
Mark, I'd just like to ask you, thank you, Mark. Did you find it useful having access to as a result of savings. And could we look at some positives of the areas that we've tackled, Marianne? Which of those would be left for the future?
I think it's always useful to have an outward focus in terms of it's very easy in the financial environment to focus very much on the regional factors.
But the other
I think there are things that we can export and we do do well. Europe that others might take advantage of. Equally speaking, I think there are things that we ought to be open-minded to in terms of the way that we do business. So I think it's always useful to have an outward focus. I suspect this will be a flavour of the future report, but what I do know is that the nature of the information out there, it's not the sort of thing that for people are talking about it doesn't show the orientation of it to calculate it for later years. And usually it takes a little bit of time after the year end and the financial cycle closes to actually come in and put it through. But generally, it's a right size.
So this is always useful to have an outlook.
I suspect this will be a flavour of the future.
Let's come back to your statement about Tasmanian Wind Farmers. I think you've got to be really careful with that because as you said before, there was recently been published, or Australian Broadcast Authority mentioned, what's happening in Cornwall, the farming difference with the environment, that kind of thing, the support for wind farming, but also what's happening in regions of license style, whether electricity can't be installed, all that kind of thing. And I obviously took that on board obviously when we're looking at further steps down the line with countries and having putting their preference into what's going on the scope, because I think there will be one day which is mashed out where the minimum which is fallen will have to come out of again. So I think if we look at it here in isolation, but yeah, I mean as we know it will be interesting doing a little bit more work on looking at all the other key factors that might affect it really.
Yeah, I think that's what I was referring to in the fact that, well, actually this is a very simplistic analysis and I've chosen two key indicators being examined as being indicators of performance. But the situation is a lot more complicated than that. And what I would stress to you is that when we focus on budget rounds and we say, well, we're taking money out of this area or that area of the business, we shouldn't necessarily be accepting that this will result in a massive that's what I was referring to. Yeah. So there's a possible risk, but equally I think that examination shows that there are those that are doing below average unit costs, and actually there's not a risk in terms of performance. They're actually the ones that are doing better. Now, you might, as you describe it, that might be a housekeeper that says, well, actually, my attitude towards teaching, my attitude towards the budget is a bigger one, and it may be evolution in the direction of travel. But all I would say is that I wouldn't necessarily pound cent for a pound working in the movement. I couldn't find that directly.
I think we're running out of the agenda, but Councillor Powell, would you like to answer?
Well, you might just answer. We do hold a gap in many different areas at this stage because as organisers of the Survey Red, we've done a similar survey looking at the electricity
All I would say is that I wouldn't necessarily pound cent for a pound
that we do the same thing. What we should be having, if we could have it, is what we have got.
Councillor Powell, would you like to
I'm just wondering whether that's covered in the capital and budget report that's coming on later on the agenda. What we are intending to do in terms of the mandate for next year in relation to is that teacher pay awards, enhanced teacher pensions, we're expecting the schools to afford those. It's not a cut, but it will be in terms of the factors that they will have to absorb. So that's one tipping point. The other adjustment that is coming out of will be around pupil numbers. What we are intending to do in terms of the mandate, that's part of the calculation that we've illustrated in our reducing school rolls, that teachers in terms of the amount of funding that we can have to present them with rounds. Can we pick that up through the budget context a little bit more? Absolutely.
I do want to get on to the next one, but Councillor Baker, one last minute.
what the answer is, I believe, is always going to work about what the capital budget
Yeah.
what the decision is really using the capital budget to define what will be deficit ratio. What do you what do you mean deficit? What the answer, I believe, to the capital budget. The presumption at the moment is that whilst that poorly existing so there will be a lot of expenditure incurred, we're treating that very much as a budget pressure in terms of the budget when we're setting the budget for next year. It's not expenditure essentially towards the £8 million we'll be affording as offered in July in the report.
Thank you. Next
So
question.
it's a revision to the capital revenue expenditure. The presumption at the moment
Thank
is
you,
that
Mr.
whilst
Chairman.
that poorly existing
The next item on the agenda is the capital budget proposal for 2015 to 16 to 2018 19. We're going to be proposed by Joy Robson, who's Head of Finance. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm just going to introduce the first of two reports on the agenda, and this one covers your capital budget. So these are capital budget proposals that are out for computation at the moment. And the capital budget again covers the investment in the current assets or covers investment in new assets. So the capital proposals before you today have been developed in terms of their linkage to our asset management plan, which was just advised the Cabinet. Of interest for this committee, I guess, will be the priority that's been accorded to the 2023 programme. So that's a key aspect to our capital budget going forward, and we're ring-fencing all available capital to that programme to match then the proposals that is making through from Welsh Government. That does have implications for the rest of the programme because we have a core programme that sits underneath that, which is about maintaining all your other current assets such as roads and other buildings. And there's a couple of appendices attached to the report which are trying to identify for you some of the issues and pressures that currently sit outside the programme and at this stage are not funded at all through the programme. And there's probably some further work that needs to be done in terms of whether any of those become a sufficient priority that they need to be included in the programme. Cabinet have agreed the principle that such issues can only be taken into the programme if it's replaced with something else, or that the scheme can actually fund itself and it generates enough income on its own to borrow and acquire further investment. I'm not going to go through too much more of the detail on it. Happy to take questions. I should have mentioned at the beginning as well that it is important that these two reports, capital and budget proposals, come to the committees again along with the risk assessment. There's a kind of two-way process. It's really to make sure we, as an authority, match up those two processes so that there may be issues about the budget which which are captured on the risk register, or there may be risks in the risk register that could have influenced where we invest money. So it's really important that those two sit alongside each other and you enable then cabinet movement as the business side of those reports. So without saying much more on the subject, I'll open up the questions so that there may be
Thank you, Joy. Does anyone have a question? Okay.
there may be risks to those.
Shall I suggest then, because obviously the subject will return as we go through Joy, that we carry on with the budget proposals. Does that make sense? For 2015-16 to 2018-19.
Sure, so agenda item 5 is your revenue budget proposals. Again, these are the proposals that have been agreed by Cabinet for computation at this stage. No decisions have been made. I was just going to make three overarching remarks before you get into the detail, just as the mandate relevant to this committee, just to give you some background and context to the position that we're facing. So with the awareness level that you have of like the model that you use, you understand what are the certain expenses that you need and what are the like funding supplements like the free from work supplements and what any pressures there are on our budget. And the model we use then creates a gap which nets you between what you need to spend and what you have available to be able to spend. And in terms of the model, there's two main aspects to it. We have post-pay segments which you inflate for monthly inflation and pay inflation. We have the funding from Welsh Government, which you'll be aware MDCV is offering us only until next year 4.3% our final settlement scheme which is a really low significant change to that. And there are various factors which we've recognised in the report which are crucial to where we get those into the model as well. So the net effect of all those issues means that we've projected an additional 13.5 million gap in the medium term. We'd already identified in our proposals last year 7.2 million pounds worth of savings. So that's a total in the region we've estimated 20.7 million pounds worth of savings. And that really does set the context overall of the agreement and mandate we've got before you today. We've focused mainly then on 15 and 16, whilst I just give you a perspective of the medium term, we have focused mainly on next year at the moment. And we have had some significant in and around premium measures which is very much protecting time and impact of those gaps. We still have a small gap to be met for 15 and 16 as you'll see in the report and a much wider gap over the medium term in 10 years. I think you'll probably be aware from the media coverage of the autumn statement just recently it confirms that the current freeze on public sector funding is going to continue, but it reduced the range aspects, so our expectations over the medium term are probably a bit ambitious there. Just in terms of process then, just to, as it does come to a close, so we have then completed the change engagement already back in October. We've got some dates set now for January. The business, the managing committee and the independent really opportunity for you to keep an eye to the proposal if you've got any intent or any objections to the proposal we have before you. We are trying to really keep timescales for keeping the budget forward, so I'm proposing that you bring back the final budget proposal to Cabinet and Council in January, anticipatively proposing the requisite time to give and me prepare the budget proposal to get them ready to put it into vote so we can hit the ground running and action the previous savings for next year. As I said, it's important to complete this report in the light of the final report on the agenda in terms of the risk analysis, and we've been saying to everybody to take general questions and report sometime.
Thank you, Jo. That's very clear. Obviously, ongoing the discussion. Has anybody got a point to make or any questions at this stage? Councillor Taylor.
Yes, thank you. Just to assure you that we've just got it in red. We're going to keep it as we've got there, so we're going to use immediately identify targets for next year to set with our heavy impact on the problems in Peckley. But I don't know whether anything to comment on that. It is what it is. Yes, unfortunately it is. Councillor Martin.
Yes, very briefly, perhaps what we are doing in dealing with the immediate audience disclosing the raising of the gap we are in on the
Thank you, Councillor Manley. Unless there's any further comments. Oh, yes, Councillor Strickland.
Drawing on the back of that, I suppose because of the need to invest in entrepreneurial projects globally, so investment globally, and also wondering how much we can afford to lose because within the agreement on financing, and how much can we expect to see as a shortfall even provided that there are minimum deposits, how much can we really hold on to that money and not actually withdraw it?
Okay, thank you very much. I think at this stage we'll go on to scrutinise the service area budget mandates as follows. And the first one will be revised home school transport. I don't quite know what to do about this evening. Richard, would you like to come and speak towards that, please? Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. I think at this stage we'll go on to scrutinise the service area budget mandates as follows. At this stage, each officer will give a short overview of the mandates, and then we'll open up to questions, 10 minutes approximately, each mandate that affects the CYP. Richard Whichcote is head of school transport. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Chair. Mandate 14 is revised home school transport mandate. The first part of the mandate is
At this
actually
stage, each officer will give a
continuation of last year's mandate, which is the removal of the post-16 travel grant, the increase in the cost of concessionary transport and post-16 concessionary seats. So this has already been actioned for this year. This is for continuing pupils, which will be removed totally by July 2015. So basically just a continuation of the present mandate. The other two continuations of last year's mandate, looking at the policy changes from September 16 to revise the current home school transport policy to increase statutory distances from 2 miles to 3 miles for secondary schools and from 1.5 miles to 2 miles, which will be removed totally by July. This is as set out in the revised Learner Travel Wales measure, which was printed in June 2014. The other part is to introduce dedicated pick-up and drop-off points on construction buses from September 16. Basically what that means is that where we have a lot of feeder buses that run to council areas to try and introduce dedicated pick-up points to those areas. This is basically the revised part of the mandate which was printed in June 2014. The other part is to introduce dedicated pick-up and drop-off
Sorry, I
points on construction buses from September 16.
Everybody?
Basically what that means is that where we have a lot of feeder buses that run to council areas to try and introduce dedicated pick-up points to those areas.
For example, Facebooks, where you have a much larger geographical area inhabited by the children which attend that school. Would there be any dispensation or compensation?
Currently, faith schools are obviously a discretionary decision upon policy. Transport is a non-statutory element of faith schools, but obviously with the current policy it is provided free of charge.
Again, obviously, discussions would have to be taken around that. But obviously, with faith schools, secondary faith schools, as it happens, are mostly out of county. They're not actually within our own county. So we do, at the moment, provide transport for those. But that's obviously what the discussion has to take place as to what we do with that in the future.
With the current policy, it is provided free of charge.
Fabulous.
Again, obviously, discussions would have to be taken around that.
Because obviously we're looking to
But obviously, with faith schools, secondary faith schools, as it happens, are mostly out of county. They're not actually within our own county.
and then
Provide transport for
we're
those.
looking to use the money
What the discussion has to take place as to
our new example is
do that in the future.
with the current policy. We're not that much against faith schools at all, but it just seems that at the present moment we're prioritising that over full-stream transport in the minimum destination of the world, and particularly in rural areas to the point of exclusion. At the moment, the markets that we're looking at purely as weekend transport and that makes complete sense. And I'd be interested to know how you spend on transporting children to faith schools.
Thanks, Heather. At the moment, currently, we somewhere in the region of about 490,000, I think, we actually spend on faith schools at the current provision. As far as the policy goes on consultation, especially at post-16 SEN policy, that's something that we want to consult on during next year. We have to, if we're going to change any part of our policy, it has to be consulted on and then by the 1st of October, actually 15, to come into effect in September 16, so that we will be going out to consult on any policy changes that are recommended during that time.
Especially at post-16 SEN policy.
Just interesting there, so with
something
the
that we
faith
want to
schools,
consult on during
490,000
next year.
savings
We have to, if we're going to change any part of our policy, it has to be consulted on and then by the 1st of October,
mixed one, but
to come into effect in
on the
September 16,
outcomes,
so that we will be going
the
out
aim of this
to
mandate
consult
is to
on any
reduce
policy
costs to the
changes that
authority of
are
providing
recommended
transport
during that time.
services, to increase income from providing discretionary and competitive transport service, to increase income so that you can now profit upon getting to school by
If we're going to change any part of our policy, it has to be consulted. You see, that is on, again, non-statutory transport. So if a child or a parent decides that a child goes to a school which is not their nearest or catchment, then basically they would have to pay for the transport. And that's where the increase in charges has come in. It's not for any statutory transport, it is for non-statutory.
so that you can now profit upon getting to school by
Thank you.
That is on, again, non-statutory transport. So if a child or parent decides that a child goes to a school which is not their nearest or catchment, then basically they would have to pay for transport. And that's where the increase in charges has come in.
Talking about
Not for any statutory
increased vulnerability
for
for
non
children and young people generally for education and learning needs, and what the policy has so far on non-statutory learning needs. So if a child already can't decides
for the dedicated exceptions, obviously, if there are additional learning needs or disabilities or anything, that will be taken into account on pick-up points. Pick-up points mainly, we're looking at mainstream transport more so than we are looking at ALN.
So we're not talking about children already vulnerable. Necessarily means if a child already can't decide
For the dedicated exceptions, obviously, if there are additional learning needs, currently there already are different arrangements, aren't there, for ALN? They have escorts or they have to be picked up directly from their house. With mainstream transport, there are currently some pick-up points along the route, if you're looking at an urban area, there are a number of pickup points along the route, and basically this is to look at where we have transport running through long distances, there's pickup points all the way along the route, and if we can make dedicated pickup points during that route, it's going to decrease the actual length of the route, and hopefully be able to decrease costs further. There are currently some pickup points along the route. If you're looking at an urban area, there are a number of pickup points along the route, and basically this is to look at where we have transport running through long distances, there's pickup points all the way along the route, and if we can make dedicated pickup points during that route, it's going to decrease the actual length of the route, and hopefully be able to decrease costs further. There are currently some pickup points along the route. If you're looking at an urban area, there are a number of pickup points along the route, and basically this is to look at where currently we have feeder buses or feeder taxis to certain areas along the route. What we're looking to do is to try and make dedicated pickup points where perhaps those feeder buses are already picking up short distances, taking them to pickup points, and hopefully instead get the parents to take them to those pickup points. But that would not include obviously additional earning that would still be catered for. This is just for mainstream transport feeder buses or feeder taxis to certain areas along the route. What we're looking to do is to try and make dedicated pickup points where perhaps those feeder buses are already picking up short distances, taking them to pickup points, and hopefully instead get the parents to take them to those pickup points. But that would not include obviously additional
mindful
be
that
catered for.
actually
This is
what we're
just for
doing
mainstream
is either
transport
public
feeder buses or feeder taxis to certain areas. What we're looking to do is to try and make dedicated pickup points where perhaps those feeder buses are already picking up short distances, taking them to pickup points, and hopefully instead get them to take them to those pickup points. But that would not include obviously additional
any thoughts what we're going to do is either somewhere or
certain areas. What we're looking to do is to try and make
the amount of
dedicated pickup points where perhaps those feeder buses are already picking up short distances, taking them to pickup points, and hopefully get the parents to take them to those pickup points. With Push 16 obviously, again it's non-statutory transport, we don't get funded for it from Welsh Government. As far as low-income families or benefit families are concerned, there are reductions in the cost if they can provide us with documentation, say they're on low-income benefits, then obviously we can do that. We can also put in payment plans in place, so they obviously time are prepared upfront or termly, statutory transport, so we do take that into consideration. Also, we have had talks with colleges as well to see if they are able to support some of the students. I know that College Wentworth particularly been with mainstream pupils has been given a grant towards their transport costs. We can also and payment plan. Obviously, further discussions need to take place on this. Time are prepared upfront or termly statutory transport, so we do take that into consideration. Also, we have had talks with colleges as well to see if they are able to support some of the students. I know that College Wentworth particularly been with mainstream pupils has been given a grant towards their transport costs, and payment plan. Obviously, further discussions need to take place on this. Time are prepared upfront or termly statutory transport, so we do take that into consideration. Also, we have had talks with colleges as well to see if they are able to support some of the students. I know that College Wentworth particularly been with mainstream pupils has been given a grant towards their transport costs, and payment plan. Obviously, further discussions need to take place on this. Time are prepared upfront or termly statutory transport, so we do take that into consideration. Also, we have had talks with colleges as well to see if they are able to support some of the students. I know that College Wentworth particularly been with mainstream pupils has been given a grant towards their transport costs, and payment plan. Obviously, further discussions need to take place on this. Time are prepared upfront
game da tsayuwar tsayuwar bisa ga manipulation. Also, we have to cope with changing environment safely and efficiently with discipline. It means to focus on building result, working effectively anytime and can improve effectively result management. We have to take into consideration. Also, we have to cope with changing environment safely and efficiently with discipline. It means to focus on building result, working effectively anytime and can improve effectively result management. We have to take into consideration. Also, we have to cope with changing environment safely and efficiently with discipline. It means to focus on building result, working effectively anytime and can improve effectively
content.
we're not-
It's not giving it. It's not giving it.
I think, Chair, wouldn't it be facilities out there, positive facilities, that could be brought into the arena if they were invited.